The priority for liberals right now must be to punch left, completely purge these useless, mentally ill communists and jihadist arslers from the coalition. It's literally their entire fault that we lost. F them forever. He's the reason the Democrats lost. Him, the left, single-handedly. Liberals, for the love of you let fascism come to power in this way. You are angrier and more furious at people who point out what is happening than you are at fascists. Like that's the reality. That's what this shows you. It's his fault. He's why Trump won single-handedly. This pivot was always idealistic, not pragmatic. It cost her the momentum she had with the base that Biden had left unenthused. They took regular Dem constituencies for granted and lost millions of votes on the couch. People wanted to change, but she gave them more Biden plus Liz Cheney. I live in Canada. We have Canadian media here, and it's very sometimes liberal, but it's oftentimes conservative. And on the CBC, which is the publicly funded Canadian broadcast system, it's not publicly owned, and we don't redistribute the wealth that it generates. It's just it gets funding from the government directly out of our taxes to exist. And it was originally implemented to try and compete with the onslaught of just the overwhelming power of American media. And that's why there's a lot of initiatives in Canada, such as, according to the CRTC, you got to play 1/3 of the music on the radios has to be a Canadian artist, just because otherwise American media just dominates and saturates all of our culture. So they were trying to create a unique Canadian culture. Silly stuff for a colonial genocidal project, I know. But either way, I was listening to the CBC's reporting on the election in America. It was very clear and concise. They I wish I had the exact clip, because they weren't dancing around. They weren't like, well, this could be, we're not entirely sure, but this could be because Latinos were more racist this year. Well, this could be, and we're not entirely sure, but because apparently certain demographics became more sexist since the last election cycle. No, they were like, Kamala Harris, in The View, they played the clip, when asked how will she be different from her predecessor, she responded, I won't be. And it's like, okay, so you're going to be just like Biden? And then when asked the second time, she said, oh, well, I will be different from him in that I will appoint a Republican to my cabinet. That was the change. When she first was announced, the Democratic operatives, they read this as, holy shit, look at this. Joe Biden steps down and she is surging in popularity, surging in search results, surging in memes, surging in enthusiasm. Everyone is so excited. Holy shit, we've unlocked something here. And it's her. That it has to be. That's the only explanation. People love her. They love her strange. They love the weird things she says. They love these weird clips. Look at them all sharing it and memeing. I was making memes. Even lefties are making memes. We were all talking about how we're coconut tree pilled, unburdened by what has been. It's all so silly and weird. But all of a sudden, they just seem to love her. They love how she's neat and quirky. That's why she's popular. Okay. So we can do all the other horrifying stuff then. We can just be like, policy-wise, I'm pretty much going to be very similar to Joe Biden. Yeah, on foreign policy, I will be identical to him. I'm going to reach out to Republicans, because we already got the Democrats on lock, so we're going to work on the right wing now. Let's focus on the right. Okay, so we got Liz Cheney. Let's talk about Dick Cheney. I can venerate him, say that he was a very noble serviceman, did a lot of great for our country. Hopefully no one really remembers what he did and what administration he was a part of. Let's see if we can get George Bush. Maybe George Bush is ready. You know, if only we can secure that George Bush, that'll get something. Like the report was just like, she failed to separate herself from her predecessor, who had already been heavily tarnished by the actions in Gaza. And people are horrified, and people are revolted by it, and people are scared, and people are disgusted, and they're looking at what's happening, and they're like, oh, please tell me she'll be different. Please, oh God, we have an opportunity here for her to be different. All right, here she goes. And we get to the DNC, and all these uncommitted voters got delegations, but they were refused to speak. They tried in every way, shape, or form. There was even an elected lawmaker of the United States who happens to be Muslim and who happens to be part of the uncommitted movement, and she has a pre-written speech that goes after Donald Trump. We know what that speech is now. We've seen it. It's very, very it's not in any way like, by the way, this genocide is Kamala's fault and all of you need to start the revolution, comrades, or anything like that. It was Donald Trump uses the term Palestinian as an insult. He has said that he wants Benjamin Netanyahu to finish the job. The guy is a racist and extremist. We must do everything in our power to stop him. But no, you can't do that. It's too risky. Too risky. Sorry. We already got the brat. We got brat. We're fine. We're going to be completely fine. If anything, at this point, we should try to get some more independents and moderates. Yeah. And then we'll pepper that in with all of these celebrities, one after the other, coming out and praising and singing the praises of, Harris and Waltz and all that kind of stuff. We're not going to utilize Waltz in the way he should have been. Because Waltz, by the way, at one point when he gets, attached to the ticket, the guy is darling. He's wonderful. He's wholesome. He adds wholesomeness to the horrors and atrocities that are happening in the world. But his wholesomeness is endearing. And guess what? He's talking about policies in his past, like, hey, we should feed all children. Really good policy. Probably something you should have ran on. Hey, paid family sick leave. Really popular policy. Popular Republicans, popular Democrats. People want paid family sick leave. Good policies. But no. We're going to have to DNC him up a little bit. Then he starts getting in front of cameras and he starts talking. Clearly, I'd never heard him talk like this. So clearly he had been coached about how, hey, by the way, Israel has a right to defend itself. Iran is an enemy to the United States. Iran funds Hezbollah. Hezbollah is an enemy to the United States. Like, who the fuck is this guy? Where did he come from? Why are you doing this? Why are you just like taking this wholesome little being, this fucking crazy taxi loving fucking Dreamcast owner, and all of a sudden he's coming in there and he sounds like a war hawk. And you got, you got Harris up on the stage now talking about how we will have the most lethal army in the world, the most deadly fighting force the world has ever seen. Scary. This isn't brat. This isn't brat at all. I'm horrified. What are we doing here? Oh no, they're campaigning consistently with Republicans, with the right. That's the road we're going down right now.
When we are, the species will not have fascism and have socialism.
Thank you very much for the $5 for the Olympians. And it's sad and it's scary. And now we're at a point where you're just sitting there and pretty much like aghast, like looking down this whole thing. And if you are a pragmatic person, if you are a nuanced person, you're going to sit there and while you're just horrified and you don't want anything to do with the Democrats, the Democratic Party, you don't want to canvass, you don't want to put up signs, you don't want to knock on doors, you definitely don't want to donate your hard-earned dollars. But you are going to make the calculation. And the calculation is yes. And I'm amongst these people who's like, you're picking your enemy. She's going to be an easier enemy. She's an enemy, and that is true, but she's going to be an easier enemy than Donald Trump. So it sucks, and it really, really hurts. But I would say that between the two of them, pick your enemy in this case. And go forward and do that. But that's the level of enthusiasm that's maxed out. Maxed out. That's it. Had it been different, had they actually listened to the constituents, to voters, to outrage, to people, had they gone with working class propositions? I'm not talking about she needed to get out there and be like, we are the wokiest wokers that ever woked. Welcome to the woke nation. We're going to talk about pure wokeness and we're going to just do all these things. Of course, that would have been unbelievably alienating, not only to, regular normies and stuff like that, but everyday people. You don't have to talk like that. That's not in any way what people were saying when they say you need to talk about working class or populist policies that are actually tangible and real. It's not that. It's get in front of a camera and don't say, I'm not going to be different than Joe Biden. You're on The View. Millions of people are watching you. They're looking for shit right now. Get in front of the camera and be like, yeah, we're not going back. We are choosing radical policies, and radical policies are what the nation needs because it is hurting. Right now, housing is unaffordable. I'm going to make housing affordable. I'm going to build a combination of social housing, low-income housing, and I'm going to give every American who needs it, who's a hardworking American and has been playing by the rules, the ability to afford a house by giving them their first $50,000 to $100,000 in a grant or a bursary. I'm going to be doing paid sick leave. You're a hardworking American. You work hard every single day. Well, guess what? You no longer have to worry about the inability for you to earn money if you get sick, because that's out of your control. You got kids. I'm going to help your kids. I want you to make sure that every single child in America never starves. I'm going to make sure that every single child in America has a free lunch. I'm going to make sure that it's going to be what I work on, and that is part of my policy. It would have been totally different. And when it's a question about the war, be like, I think this war is fundamentally immoral. Fine, she's not going to say that. Okay, well, I'm going to adhere to international law. And as part of that, yes, we are going to definitely have to restrict the amount of weaponry that we are sending to Israel, because they are violating international law. It's what the Leahy Law implies. It's what the UN and what every single country outside of a few handful are asking for, what they're voting on. We're going to, like, all of that would have been so different. Not only would have, like, every single person who's even not a Democrat or a lib been libbed up to fuck, they would have been canvassing, knocking on doors, fucking phone banking. They would have been singing the praises nonstop. It would have been like a momentum of that. You wouldn't feel dirty or gross or slightly endorsing genocide if you endorsed her, if you posted something. Whereas all those people now look disgusting. Stephen King wearing a shirt, I'm speaking, they're in the whole thing. Ew. Where are all these celebrities? Where's Jack Black? Where the fuck is Jack Black on the genocide of Palestinians? Where's Jack Black on horrifying war crimes and atrocities? But oh no, I'm riding. Hey, come on everyone, we got Luke Skywalker. May the Force be with you. He's there. He's a Jedi. It's happening. Steve_Boots. Very good to see you. Hey, can everyone go to Serfs.tv/Steve_Boots? By the way, we were playing one of Steve's videos at the very start about how all this is about to happen in Canada if Justin Trudeau does not step down and if Liberals don't wake the fuck up. Of course, this is going to happen. This performative politics and that Trudeau style Brat Summers shit does not work. It only works for people who are already in the Democratic bubble. It only works for people who are already probably most likely going to go vote. That's what works. Sure, you can feel real nice about yourselves when you got Scarlett Johansson, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Oprah, M, all getting in front of the microphones, all standing there and all being like, this is the most important election of our lifetimes. I don't normally, do politics, and I'm not really big on that, but hey, here we are, and you got to get out there and vote, you got to go do that. Oh, and that libs up the libs. That makes the libs feel great while the rest of the world is watching in horror. And I just consistently had this gross, uneasy feeling, and I was such a downer on these panels that I would go on to when we would do the leftist mafia, and I would talk to the American, because I don't want to be the weird Canadian who's like, this feels off though. I was the last person in that panel we did to say that Kamala Harris is going to win, because I was sitting there in my heart and in my head, I was like, I'll do what I do. I'll make a joke so I don't have to answer the question. I'm riding with Biden. Yeah. But no, seriously, Lance, you have to answer the question. You're on the spot now. I guess, Kamala's also going to win. Well, look, she is. We got a seltzer poll. She's going to blow out Iowa. You just wait. Oh, man, it's over. The Brat Summer has been unleashed. Business as usual will continue. Business as usual wins elections. It sure does. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. We've seen this time and time again. Business as usual does not win elections, and not when there's worse and worse inequality than ever before. You have people keep saying, like, why are Gen Zs Nazis? Is it just because of the Andrew Tates? Well, the Andrew Tates of the world certainly do not help, and they are the ones, the Donald Trumps, the Andrew Tates, all these kind of people. These are the faux populists, the strong men who take advantage of poor economic situations to blame and vilify minorities as the cause of those problems, and they energize people because someone is finally fucking listening. That's the reason it works, because someone is finally listening to people who are suffering. Everyone is like just beside themselves how non-white people could vote for Trump. Are they all stupid? Do they not realize they're not white? That he's a white supremacist racist who's going to make their lives harder? Why are first generation immigrants voting for him? Are they all stupid? Although they must be. They must have been listening to HASAN. It's because he didn't fully endorse her. If he had just endorsed her, all of this would be different. It's like, no, but someone is listening. They're lying. It's true. Trump is lying. Every faux populist lies. Every dictator lies. Every fucking, every Mussolini and Hitler and every iteration of them along the road and pathway down to the day and age we find ourselves in today, they know how to tap into that shit and lie to people. And people who are looking for, something feels wrong. I play by the rules. I work hard. I can't afford a home. Why is that? young men. I've been told and trained and indoctrinated my entire life to think that my value as a gender comes from my ability to be a provider. And that's what I've been told every single day of my life, and every movie I watch, and every TV show, and every superhero, and every fucking chiseled ass body and all that show me the ideal version of man, and that's what I have to attain and be. And I'm struggling. And I can't do that. It's really, really fucking hard. How do I do this? Boom, along comes Andrew Tate's, Fresh and Fit's, Sneako's, along comes Jordan Peterson's, all of them. They're just all there, and it's like, oh, Bucko, you know what's wrong here, the order of chaos, it's mother, it's women who are doing this to you, yeah, 40 women in there, 40 you forgot ace, and all that other fucking bullshit. They're already at a home field advantage. They just need to reiterate the same misogynistic, patriarchal bullshit. And of course, you're going to buy it up because it's like, yeah, guess what Andrew Tate is selling? Same fucking thing. He's identifying the problem by saying that you live in the Matrix. Something's off, right? It feels bad, right? Yeah, who is it? It's the Matrix. It's the Matrix that's doing this all to you. Take the red pill. Buy the cryptocurrency. Take the course. You'll become a real man. You'll become rich. You'll get all the pussy you want. And that's what you want. And here it is. Take the shit. So yeah, people like that come along and they can take advantage of the situation, but they don't create the situation in the first place to take advantage of. And that is neoliberal capitalism. That is income inequality. That is people's inability to afford shit, to afford houses, to make ends meet. And then they feel condescended to by liberals. They feel condescended to by the out-of-touch libs who are telling them, it's a brat summer, let's dance and party, everything's going to be okay, everything's going to be great. And then what a surprise, a lot of people are like, oh, well, fuck these fucks. And then there's the same people who are like, you've been condescending to men, now we're coming for your eggs. We just had one of those groypers in the chat earlier who was saying all this fucking Nick Fuentes shit. Nick Fuentes is selling all these young minds, all these young kids bullshit. He's blaming it, instead of blaming it on minorities, the immigrants from Mexico or something like that, he's blaming it on women and Jewish people. That's his scapegoats, right? They all have their scapegoats, every single one of them. Sneeko is blaming it on Jewish people and queer people. That's his scapegoats. Andrew Tate, Jewish people, queer people, immigrants, they all have their scapegoats, right? Every single one of them has picked a vulnerable minority or group, and they're going to go after them and use them as the answer to all of this shit. And it's so easy for them to do that. It's so easy for them to come along, take advantage of the situation made by the liberals, made by neoliberal capitalism and all this exacerbation of wealth inequality, and then sell them on the lie. And the lie being like, hey, people condescend to you, people talk down to you as a man, people talk down to you saying that you have all these things called privilege. Do you feel privileged? Or do you feel poor? Do you feel poor as fuck? Or do you feel privileged? I don't feel privileged. Yeah. But they tell you got all kinds of privilege. If you're a white guy, you got white privilege, all right? And have you ever felt privileged? Or do you feel condescended to? You know, if you're a man, you're supposed to have, we live under patriarchy. We're supposed to be the ones who rule and control the show. What is happening? What do you see before you now? What is taking place?
What do we say to the people who say you're scapegoating the rich and wealthy?
Wealthy? Thank you for the $5 donos. It's utterly absurd. It's just like an endless cycle where Democrats aren't recognizing that. Neoliberals certainly aren't recognizing this, because to them, the answer is capitalism. The answer is neoliberalism. The answer is deregulation of the markets. Let free market capitalism reign. Let all these industries do what they got to do. Let the riches amass themselves and sell everyone on the idea of meritocracy and working hard. And if you play by the rules, everyone can get that. And yes, we should also be teaching you about things like white fragility, teaching you about all this kind of patriarchal stuff, and just hope that on the other end, people who are suffering are going to get it. People who are suffering are going to understand this. Well, guess what? On the other end, there are people selling them that all of this is bullshit. And their replacement for the bullshit is even worse bullshit, unfortunately. But that's the reality. And until the mainstays of the Democratic Party or the Liberal Party of Canada, until they recognize this, it's going to go into perpetuity, you know? But I have stuff to back this up. It's not just me ranting. Sort of funny that Dems stood quietly while AIPAC drove 2 of the 5 congressional Democrats most beloved by youth out of office, only to wake up yesterday morning and be like, what the fuck is up with the youth vote? This is another thing. Gen Z I don't know why people are suddenly being like, Gen Z are Nazis and they destroyed this election. What? Why is it like it's the Latinos? It's Gen Z. It's the black vote. Do you know how much the black vote was vilified before this election came up? Black people, they voted overwhelmingly for the Democrats. Black men were vilified so much in this election. They were constantly targeted. They were fucking insulted by the Democratic Party. They were running ads where they were like, you're not going to get pussy if you don't vote for the Democrats. You know how insulting that is, just to reduce men to the only thing that matters to you is pussy? Like, the same thing that Andrew Tate and everyone fucking does, you're doing that on the other end now. The same thing that was done, not just to black men, but men in general, where those ads where it's like, by the way, when you're impregnating the ladies because you want pussy, they're going to take the condoms away. So you better do something about this, brah. You better go out there and you better, stop that. It's like, this is the outreach. This is genuinely what you think is going to work. That it's like, well, I wasn't going to vote, but then I saw the ad. Apparently I won't get pussy if I don't vote Democratic, so I got to go out there. But no. Women's rights are something that should be a core tenet to men as well, because we should be fighting for all people's rights. And yes, patriarchy makes men's lives horrible too. It fucking reducing men to these fucking stereotypes is part of the problem. Reducing men to you're nothing but a fucking cum vessel that's going to be walking around trying to impregnate women, and so you better at least have some better ability to get a plan B for the only thing you care about, and that kind of shit. It's like, cool. Now we're just doing the exact same thing, but from the other end. This is great. This is a good outreach program. So now they're saying that again. I don't want to say I told you so, but this run to the moderates looks like a spectacular failure. Lethal military, muscular border policies, parading Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney. Didn't swing votes. It didn't. All the lefts who were telling you this, we're not telling you this simply because we fundamentally want to see Trump win. I'm terrified to my core. I am horrified. And I yes, I do not like the Democrats. I hate the Democrats. You're right in that one. But I'm not trying to help them lose by pointing this shit out. This is the stuff that they are not listening to. Like, I just scream all day at a wall, just scream continuously. If you do this, you will lose the election. This is not the pathway forward. And then get, again, condescended to by libs and liberal pundits and liberal fucking media figures who will then be like, no, sorry, you don't understand, you children. We have to appeal to the moderates. We have to go center to center right on policies, because if we don't, then we'll get outflanked by the Republicans on issues that are very, very concerning to Americans. So it's important. January 6th is really, really important. This kind of stuff. The people like Liz Cheney having a big tent. It really reinforces in the Republican brain when you do this kind of stuff. It switches them. They switch over. They vote Democratic because they're like, oh, Liz Cheney. Oh, okay, all right, I get it now. Liz Cheney, I got it. Dick Cheney, understand that. You're further to the right on the border. Oh yeah, Republicans want to play ball. They've shown that demonstratively, that they're willing to work with you if you simply do what they want. That's the thing that they do. They've been doing it ever since the Obama age, right? That's how that all worked out. That as soon as you were like, hey, I'm going to make a committee. I'm going to have Mitch McConnell on that committee, and we're going to be able to say that I reached across the aisle. So I'm not just trying to push forward my own policies. It's everyone's policies. And then certainly they helped you out in that respect. And they've been wanting to play ball ever since. So all of this shit works. No, it doesn't. It's a disaster. It erodes your base. It erodes people who want to support you. It horrifies people. Like, you're giving credence to people who are saying, why would I vote Democratic if I happen to be someone who thinks that the border policies are cruel? Why would I vote Democratic if I happen to be someone who thinks that hyper-militarization is a frightening thing? Meanwhile, we have, presidential candidates talking about how they're going to create the most lethal fighting force the world has ever seen. That's deeply scary to me. That's horrifying to me. Liz Cheney, do you want to remind me of Dick Cheney? You're praising Dick Cheney. Holy shit, why are you praising Dick Cheney? That fucking horrifying war criminal monster. Even Bernie Sanders, who they were telling clearly, hey, you're going to be asked in an interview, by the way. When you get out there in front of the interview, make sure you get in front of the camera and then you say something to the effect of, well, we have a big tent, right? It's like, so it's unusual to see you and Dick Cheney in the same ticket, Mr. Sanders. Well, while we deeply disagree on all issues, I will say that it is striking at how bad Trump is that this is happening. why are you making him do this? Why are you making Democrats have to talk about Dick Cheney, a man reviled and for good reason? Again, Dick Cheney should be in jail, and that should be your answer. That, like, okay, you can't say that and be politically viable, Lance. You can't be like, I want to fucking see that war criminal suffer until his last days in prison. Okay, fine, you can't say that. You could have definitely said something to the effect of, all this shows is how fucking bad Donald Trump is, and that war criminal, because I am going to identify him as a war criminal, is clearly turning on Trump. And even then, it doesn't benefit you. It's like Richard Spencer, in his, I'm sure, trolling 4chan-y way, endorsed Kamala Harris in the final moments before the election. Again, I'm sure in his weird 4chan trolling ways, just like the other white supremacists, the KKK guy endorsed Jill Stein, and like someone else endorsed someone else, because yeah, they're all just basically, they're all trying to see what chaos they can sow in their own respective ways. But like, were you ever gonna be like, well, Richard Spencer is a really bad person. I do not agree with him on any issue, but it is striking, at this moment in time, that he has endorsed Kamala Harris. So, do you expect the Republicans were going to do that? Like, oh, here's a play. Get out there and say that we got this one. Oh, here's a play. Like, Dick Cheney, revolting. Yeah, absolutely, and saying that this is how you guarantee a loss in 2028. Are you learning nothing from this? Adam Kissinger. Drew Pavlou. The priority for liberals right now must be to punch left, completely purge these useless, mentally ill communists and jihadist arslers from the coalition. It's literally their entire fault that we lost. Fuck them forever. An Australian, by the way. But, okay. Well, yeah, American politics. I mean, I can't really talk here. I'm Canadians, so I do speak a lot about American politics because they affect the world, and I live actually directly beside it. Okay, we're each other's largest trading partners. It affects me more than it affects you, sir. You are far, far away, in a mystical land, a little island all by itself, and the funniest of all the colonies, I might say. He's the reason the Democrats lost. Him, the left, single-handedly. When, like, it's so funny they get shit on in this way, not just HASAN, but AOC, Bernie Sanders, by the liberals. The liberals shit all over them, saying like, oh, we need to excise them from the left. They are a cancer among us, blah, blah, blah. They are polluting the party. They're doing that as those people were acquiescing to the disgusting ass Democrats. They were doing, because again, I believe the calculation by Bernie Sanders, for example, is Donald Trump is going to be worse, so I have to do what I have to do. He did it for Hillary Clinton, he did it for Joe Biden, and then he was doing it for Kamala Harris. They made that assessment, and Bernie did it along the way, where it's like, I am just making a calculation that Donald Trump will be worse, and it will be harder for me to implement any of my policies or ideas if I'm not only not in the administration, in like the inner circle of the administration, but I'm not only in the administration, but Donald Trump's in power. That's the reason why. That's why they're doing what they're doing. But again, the idea that the left is your bigger enemy. Liberals, for the love of fuck, you let fascism come to power in this way. You are angrier and more like furious at people who point out what is happening than you are at fucking fascists. Like that's the reality. That's what this shows you. This was what Gaza looked like on election day. The idea that this was something that people were just going to turn off, and those who couldn't turn it off would make nuanced takes. You would hope that a plurality of voters would be able to, in a nuanced way, ignore all of this, or believe that it's in America's best interest. It's a graveyard. They're bombing dust. Look at these, like, shells, empty houses, all of this. These are all destroyed as far as the eye can see. It's an apocalypse. And the world knows. No one can say you don't know. No one can say you haven't seen it. You're looking at it right now. They just announced that you're not allowed to return to your homes in northern Gaza, or what is left of the dust. So how can you keep pushing this idea? How can you keep telling people and selling this and hoping not only is it going to get you record numbers, not only is it going to get you blowouts, but that it's going to get you any kind of enthusiasm? that people are going to, it's the most important election of our lifetimes. I got to get up and I got to knock on doors. I know I don't have a lot of free money or cash to spare, but I got to donate. I got to go donate. I got to go donate to the Democrats. It's the most important election of our lifetimes. Yep, we got to go do this. Or is this going to fucking just tank voter enthusiasm, tank voter turnout, which, again, the left was telling you, not for lack. Now, I know every single time this is mentioned, people are like, you leftists will never let this go. Well, why don't we all learn together? Let's take a lesson. The Democrats did coalesce to destroy the Bernie Sanders run out of fear that Bernie Sanders was getting too close to power. And in that, they got Joe Biden. And then when Joe Biden won, it validated them because they thought, oh, okay, well, we were right. Good old Joe, that's what people wanted. When it was an outright rejection of Donald Trump is what won that election. And Bernie Sanders, yes, I will still contend to this day, would have won against Trump in that election. And the unification that you always look for, the appealing to non-voters, huge amount of non-voters in the United States, tens of millions of them, appealing to independents and centrists, even, dare I say, appealing to Republicans. Have you seen this chart? This was the map of donations and what it looked like for Bernie Sanders' campaign. The darker the blue, the more that area was donating. Independent donors. These were independent donors and donations coming in from every fucking corner of the United States. Only in certain deep, dark red states, such as in Texas, for example, where you've seen Beto O'Rourke getting a lot of independent donors. Here's where the Klobuchar was getting donors. Buttigieg was getting most donations. Biden over here. This was Sanders. I'm sorry, but you can't ignore this. To people who continually push the idea that Sanders' policies are not popular or that Bernie Sanders was not a popular politician, he was an independent from Vermont that no one in the fucking world knew about. No one knew who the fuck this guy was. I remember when his first run against Hillary Clinton started getting excitement. It just started out as kind of like a joke, It was like, oh, a social democrat is going to be running, and he had that whole get in front of the microphone, doing that, like, I am running for president, all that kind of stuff, and everyone's like, And then it just started to take off, and it took off like wildfire, and then it took off across the country. It was just like a phenomenon. He called it a political revolution. It was. It woke up so many people to all of the things that, he identified the same things that the faux populists identify, but actually correctly identified the problems, and it worked, and it resonated, and people were like, oh my God, he's right. Holy shit. Why don't we talk about this? The 1% versus the 99%. Why don't we talk about this? You have Donald Trump talking about the elites. You have Elon Musk talking about the elites. You have fucking Tucker Carlson talking about the elites. The elites, the elites, the elites. It's like, I hear this nonstop from all of these people that, yes, we're doing everything in our power to stop the elites. The elites are taking over, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Donald Trump won. Here's the elites. The world's 10 richest people got a record $64 billion richer from Trump's reelection. Way to drain the swamp. Way to stick it to the elites. Good job. Good job. And hey, what a surprise. Democrats, surrounded by billionaires. Those billionaires just also got way richer. All the billionaires did. This is the thing that happens when the stock market is flooded with cash, because they suddenly feel that it's going to be a safer investment at this time to suddenly pour tons of money in, because capital is not threatened. Because yes, absolutely, Donald Trump and fascists do not threaten capital. That's not what happens. So all the people who are telling everybody, the elites, we got to stop the elites, we got to take them down, we got to destroy them. The real enemy is the fucking leftist podcasters. The real enemy is HASAN. The real problem here for the Democrats is just that there's just not enough right-wing policies. Matthew Iglesias right now, did you see his policy propositions? He's like, here's the future path for the Democrats. We have to become more centrist. We are now going to say that biological males should not be competing in women's sports. We are now going to say that while we do believe in worker class policies, that capitalism is ultimately in the best interest of humanity. We are now going to believe. It's like, you're learning nothing. What you're giving people less and less option. It's like right, slightly less right, far right, and right. That's the two options. And it's like, hey, the populists, they're going to continue to do, the faux populists, sorry, they're going to continue to do what they do, which is lie to everyone. You know, they continue to tell them, oh, you want wins? We'll get you those lib tiers. Look at this fucking epic fucking big chungus over here. Everyone laughed at him. Everyone thought he was a clown. Everyone mocked him ruthlessly. He's laughing now. How many articles have been published about what an idiot Elon Musk is? Oh yeah, the Saudi investors. They spent billions of dollars on Twitter. Elon Musk spent billions of dollars of his own fortune. He invested billions of dollars into the social media platform, the biggest social media platform that is utilized by politicians. Hey, Elon Musk, he destroyed the platform. The user amount is plummeting. The ad sponsors are gone. It's bleeding cash. But he's also turned it into a far-right operation. The very thing that Glenn Greenwald and Matt Taibbi told us happens under liberals. Except they lied. It just happened under Elon Musk. And look at that. In one way or another, they got an ROI. The Saudi investors, ooh, wow, a whole bunch of just rich monarchs, you say, who believe in very far-right beliefs and values as well. Well, look at that. Making America way more far-right at the same time. The money's coming back in one way or another. You can say fuck you to Disney and fuck you to all these big major corporate brands that don't want to be associated with Nazis, but look at that. Look at that. And as long as the Democrats continue to say, well, the problem with this is that we're not right-wing enough, you'll never see this again. This will be the only moment in U.S. history where you ever saw something like this. Again, a political revolution in the modern age like this, where people in a country that had gone through the Red Scare, that had gone through the Cold War, that had done everything in its power, using every mechanism possible to vilify ideas of communism, vilify ideas of the lowering wealth and inequality. It has to be done. You have to rein in wealth inequality. If you don't, it'll do what exactly is happening right now. Hypercapitalism running rampant. It is a pathway to fascism. That's why we find ourselves in the situation that we find ourselves in now. That's why people can come along and do this and win. And the people who are voting for them are not just voting because they're racist. They're not just voting because they're sexist. They're doing it in spite of that. It's in spite of Trump's racism. It's in spite of Trump's sexism. It's in spite of the wild things he says. It's in spite of the ridiculous things he does. Some conservatives like Ben Shapiro wrote articles why I will never vote for Donald Trump. But, if we can be in power, fuck it. Yeah, he's definitely not a Christian. he's definitely not a Christian. But, yeah, I as a Christian American, yeah, you on the other end will keep calling me stupid. Every liberal will keep calling them all dum-dums. Oh, they're all so stupid. They don't understand. Oh, they're all so dumb. They're all so racist. They're all so sexist. Doing that in spite of it, though, because no one else is listening to them. No one else is listening, especially to poor rural Americans who are like, life sucks. And guess what? You are right that life is going to get worse for those people. The very people who voted for Donald Trump, yes, undecidedly, demonstrably, life is going to get worse. As Donald Trump gives tax breaks to the wealthiest people. And that's what he did last time, and his plans for this one are even worse. So life is going to get worse. People are going to get more unhealthy. If you have less health care, but you have fucking RFK Jr. is like, I'm going to abolish the FDA. We're going to get rid of all the fluoride. We're going to get rid of all safety protections. There's going to be food will reign supreme. A lot of people are going to die. A lot of people are going to die. A lot of people are going to be unhealthy. A lot of people are going to get, the gum disease that requires IV. A lot of people are going to suffer. Absolutely. It's going to be terrible. But the scapegoating on the other end is going to lead to this happening in perpetuity, right? That's the other fucked up thing. Radicalize everybody. Now that you know the secrets, you've unlocked it all. Then you can learn about why these people continue to be able to be in power and why the worst people, the Laura Loomers, the Miles Jones. Why aren't there more female characters in FIFA 14? This dude who lives in Malaysia, not an American, a Malaysian, is influencing American politics now in a way that you gotta laugh or you're gonna cry.
Clean up your
Honestly.
room.
That's it, you know? And to the Canadians watching this, being like, whoa, that's scary, Lance. At least I live in the... Next year, this is happening here. The exact same play, piece by piece. I don't want to frighten you, but let's look at the 338 model right now so you can see what it looks like in visual terms. This is Canada in 2025. The blue is not Democrat. The blue is conservative. Pierre Poilievre. Yes, once again, a person who deals in MGTOW, a person who deals in racism, a person who deals in far-right ideology, a person who is banding together with the Occupy movement, person who is siding with anti-climate change, anti-vax, all that shit. He is going to crush it. He's going to own this country. All of it. All of it. You can combine, and it'll never happen, but you can combine all of these. He's still going to have a majority, even if the Black Québécois decided to, you know, in a parliamentary system, which that never happens in Canada because Canada is really weird. They don't understand we live in a parliamentary system. But either way, even an alliance of every other party is not going to stop this if it goes as it is right now. Barbarism or socialism. Fascism or socialism. Those are the pathways. Not blaming podcasters. I'm not blaming YouTubers. These are the pathways forward. And it's going to continue to happen. If liberals are not going to listen and liberals are going to continue to push for their same policies, if they're not going to evolve, because I, in my heart of hearts, do believe profoundly, because I got to have hope, that liberals can evolve into a higher form. They can achieve higher forms. They can become sock dems. Evolve, libs. Evolve. There's enough of you already that are talking about that are thinking about it, that are going in one or two directions. Is there a way out of the
fascism in the future, or it is going to be a full-on surveillance states?
Well, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you for the $5. But right now, and this happened last time Trump won, there's a polarization. There's a list of people who want to reject everything that you're seeing before you, and for good reason. You are right to be horrified. I can't imagine what it must be like to be a woman and to be a woman in the United States right now. I genuinely, my heart goes out because it breaks my heart, you know? Like I start crying to watch people, like, you know, I saw the video footage yesterday of Emma Vigeland just breaking down and that feeling it must feel like, because on the surface, this looks like it's just an outward, not only rejection of the idea of women having equal rights or being treated as equal citizens, but then to have this backlash of just the cruelest, most profoundly evil men in the other direction, mocking them, posting shit like, we're coming for your eggs, your body, my choice, gripers, grab them by the pussy. All that's so horrifying and gross and deeply, deeply scary. Very frightening. And a lot of people are angry, and a lot of people are upset, and a lot of people are willing to do things right now. So this is a crucial time and a very important time to realize those are the two pathways forward. There's been other moments in history where there's those two pathways forward. You know, more humane capitalist policies, Keynesian economics, lead to the things that to this day are some of the most popular things in America. Medicare, Medicaid. The very things that, yes, help, generally speaking, members of society that need it. They need to be rapidly expanded. There needs to be a continuation of these policies. And guess what? Good news. There could be a massive general strike coming up in America right now. Sean Fain, if they go through with their policies, if they unite all of these different worker groups, you could be looking potentially at the first mass strike in our modern lives in America. That would be monumentous. That would be a huge event. That would be an opportunity for change. Every time you see we're fucked, like climate change wise, there's nothing we can do. Actually, we could. Like tomorrow, we literally tomorrow could reduce our carbon output like that. We did it. When all of a sudden it's like society has to shut down. No more flights. Society has to shut down. No more cars. Society has to shut down. No, blah. Why? Pandemic. We gotta let's just completely stall our CO2 output and dramatically reduce it all of a sudden. It's like we can do that. We can also switch to clean energy sources. We can also mobilize and go towards that kind of stuff. So we can literally just change it tomorrow. It's just there's no way at this current iteration for me to say that out loud and to the like 1,000 people watching. Then all of a sudden they're all like, he's right. All right, mobilize. No, you need an actual general strike that's organized at a level that I can't facilitate, that I can't personally do. But there are people who can, and there are people who should support them, and there are people who should band with them, and there are people who, when they see it on the verge of happening, everyone's got to participate, you know? And if it's like, well, no, the Republicans aren't going to play ball, fine. Let them stay inside their houses as people are marching in the street demanding a better world and a better life, you know? That's absolutely something that they could try in the background. Also, Rashida Tlaib did twice as well as Kamala Harris in Dearborn, Michigan. The idea that people were saying you're unelectable if you say oppose genocide, if you're the only person who's sitting there with a sign, you know, directly stating your position that you wouldn't be able to be elected. Again, not true. Doesn't bear out. The world is not 100% in hatred of Muslims, hatred of women, you know, there's a lot of gross and evil people with large megaphones, and there's a lot of people who are also scared and they're willing to accept the gross and angry people with large megaphones in order to be listened to. Kind of what I keep saying. But it is sad.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. In Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. Trump's also...
Which is why I say now is the time to start organizing.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/The Serfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Poppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Travis McClinton, Trincell, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.